Chapter 61 Voluntary Devotion to Marry the Mermaid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Respected Sir, the Shark Tribe surrenders. We will serve you. To make sure Ren heard, Lalicia amplified her voice with magic as the Shark Tribe's high priest. I can't let my people be destroyed. Submission is the only way to protect them from these terrifying humans. It's never too late to do the right thing. Would have been easier if you'd done this from the start. I wouldn't have had to take action. Ren muttered, then sheathed his sword. Subduing this merfolk tribe would be ideal. After all, merfolk are natural aquaculturists and powerful divers. They're perfect for underwater treasure hunting. They're incredibly versatile. Seeing Ren stop, Lalicia and the other merfolk warriors sighed in relief. They were safe. The Shark Tribe's spirit was broken. They were like fish in a barrel, unable to negotiate terms. Half an hour later, Lalicia, representing the Shark Tribe, signed the 143 loyalty contract with Ren. From that day forward, Ren was the Shark Tribe's master, with absolute power. No merperson could disobey his orders without facing eternal damnation. Having subdued the tribe, Ren collected their treasure, 26 boxes of magic pearls and rare water-based magical materials. He estimated it was worth at least 15 million gold coins. Delighted, he packed up the loot. Then, as if a thought struck him, Ren asked the mermaid priestess why the Shark Tribe was in Blue Moon Lake. It's because. Lalicia, knowing the tribe's fate rested on her answer, explained that they were refugees from the sea. As Ren suspected, the Shark Tribe wasn't an advance guard. They'd lost a battle. Lalicia, a genius priestess with pure mermaid blood, had emerged in this generation of the Shark Tribe. Other fish tribes, fearing the Shark Tribe's potential, attacked them. Caught off guard, the Shark Tribe was devastated. Only Lalicia and a few others escaped. But the other tribes pursued them relentlessly, determined to wipe them out. So, Lalicia led her people out of the ocean, upriver, seeking refuge on the Roland continent. After a long journey, they reached Blue Moon Lake, hoping to rebuild and restore their tribe's former glory. But they met Ren, who crushed them. The entire Shark Tribe submitted. Your Shark Tribe really had a bad break. Ren was speechless. Lalicia's frustrated expression said it all. Having secured the tribe and satisfied his curiosity, Ren was ready to leave Blue Moon Lake. He entrusted his son, Caxiu, the Lord of Blue Moon City, with exploiting the tribe's value. It was his job. Wait. Lord Ren, can you take me with you? Lalicia called out as Ren and the others mounted their horses. Ren was confused. He understood the implication, but why? He couldn't believe he'd won over this beautiful mermaid priestess so easily. He had killed over 800 of her warriors. She should hate him. Why would she offer herself to him? Does this mermaid have Stockholm Syndrome? Ren found it strange, but Lalicia didn't seem like she did. He wondered what was going on in her head. Lalicia was nervous. This was new for her. She was offering herself to become Ren woman, hoping her charm would convince him to treat her people better. Ren thought it over and agreed. He couldn't refuse an offer like that. The contract and tribal ties would prevent any harm. Lalicia sighed in relief. She explained tribal affairs to her people, then used her inherited merfolk magic to transform her tail into legs. Under the gaze of her people, she rode off with Ren. Back in Blue Moon City, Ren discussed the merfolk with his son. He'd planned to use them as tools, but with Lalicia about to become his woman, he couldn't be so heartless. So, he told Kashiwara to treat them as citizens, earning rewards through aquaculture and other labor. Lalicia gave Ren a grateful look. Having shared the good news, Ren set off with the loot and the mermaid. Back at Hab's manor, he had his men put the pearls and magic materials in the family treasury. Then, he asked the butler to prepare a room for Lalicia. Janice, Jessica, and the others, hearing of Ren's return, came to greet him. Seeing a beautiful woman beside him, they gave him knowing looks. Ren, did you bring another sister home? Aren't you going to introduce us? Ren, sensing their jealousy, explained Lalicia's identity. A mermaid? Janice and the others were surprised. It was a rare sight on the Roland continent. They were fascinated. Janice and the others surrounded Lalicia, requesting she reveal her tail. Eager to make friends, Lalicia transformed her lower body. The women exclaimed and reached out to touch it. Lalesia quickly integrated into Janice's group. Later, Janice and the others approached Ren, asking him to hold a wedding for Lalesia. Ren agreed. Even if Lalesia's motives weren't entirely pure, she would be his woman. Equality demanded a wedding. 3 days later, under his wife's arrangement, a grand wedding was held at Habs Manor. The stars of the show were Ren and Lalesia. Lalesia, wearing a human wedding dress, was nervous. "Don't be nervous. Just follow my lead," Ren said, holding her hand. "Okay." Feeling Ren's warmth, Lalesia relaxed. Despite being enemies, he felt reliable and secure. He wasn't treating her as a plaything, but as a legitimate wife. The hatred in her heart dissipated, replaced by dependence. Ren, unaware of the change in her thoughts, led Lalesia onto the stage. They exchanged vows and became a couple. The wedding lasted all day. After seeing off the last guest, Ren eagerly entered Lalesia's room. They sealed their bond. Compared to human women, Lalesia was exceptionally sensual. Ren couldn't help but give in to the pleasure. Chapter 62 The second gold-ranked heir, Celestial Mount Shengguang Pegasus. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time flew by. A month had passed. Lalesia had completely settled into human life. Honestly, she was loving it. Ever since she married Ren, he had been incredibly loving and attentive. She had all the resources she could need. Life was carefree. She could do whatever she wanted. She was truly happy, and, spending every day with Ren, she had actually fallen for the guy. Ren, sleeping right next to her, definitely wasn't missing her feelings. He was all for it. However, maybe it was a species thing. He had been trying hard, but Lalesia still wasn't pregnant. This was getting to him. He really wanted a kid with mermaid blood ASAP, especially since Lalesia had such pure blood. That kid could be born with a golden level rating, but Lalesia's belly wasn't cooperating, so Ren had to let things take their course. Aside from that one frustration, everything else was going great. The 2 new cities were finished on time. Like before, Ren used his gold to hire merchants to recruit refugees. After dropping hundreds of thousands of gold coins, the 2 new towns had nearly 300,000 new residents, adding to Eagle City, Blue Moon City, and Harvest City. Ren now had 1 million subjects. Just like Blue Moon City and Harvest City, Ren named the new towns himself. One was called Cedar City, and the other was Iron Furnace City. The name said it all. Cedar City was built near a huge cedar forest, so it would focus on timber. They were using the cedar to set up a furniture factory to supply the territory with high-quality furniture. Iron Furnace was built in a large basin. This basin had tons of iron ore, so Ren was setting it up as a steel industry hub, using the ore to build blast furnaces and smelt steel, providing the territory with top-notch steel for weapons and tools. This would make up for the territory's lack of steel production. The towns were all growing and helping each other out. With Ren guidance, the Habsburg family's territory was becoming more and more successful. Time kept flowing. Another month zipped by. Jessica, Layla, Murphy, Betty, and Charlene were all about to pop after 10 months of pregnancy. That afternoon, Layla and Murphy went into labor one after the other. Ren and the other wives waited anxiously outside the delivery room. 10 minutes later, 2 loud baby cries rang out, detected the birth of the host's 54th child. The child's magical aptitude is average, the fighting spirit aptitude is average, and the evaluation is bronze level. Reward: 10 years of fighting spirit cultivation, 3-star Legion battle technique, fighting spirit sharing. Detected the birth of the host's 55th child. The child's magical aptitude is low, the fighting spirit aptitude is average, and the evaluation is bronze level. Reward: 10 years of fighting spirit cultivation. These 2 bronze-rated kids gave Ren a total of 20 years of fighting spirit cultivation, bringing him closer to breaking through to the 13th rank and becoming a Sky Knight. As for the 3-star Legion battle technique, fighting spirit sharing, Ren took a look. It wasn't top quality, but it had a cool effect. Practitioners with the same fighting spirit could use it to connect and share their fighting spirit, unleashing even more power. The limit was 60 people. 60 intermediate practitioners working together could probably take down an advanced practitioner. Ren realized the true value of this battle technique for boosting the army's combat power. This 3-star technique was a game changer. Its overall value was up there with a regular 5-star technique. Looks like my luck's pretty good. A bronze-rated kid actually got me a reward you'd expect from a silver one. Of course, Ren didn't forget to thank the mothers who helped him get those rewards. He went into the delivery room. Took a look at the newborns, then had a chat with Layla and Murphy. After that, he headed to the family knight's place. He wanted all the family guards to learn this fighting spirit sharing technique. After 20 years of training, the Habsburg family had over 800 knights, 685 low-level knights, 169 intermediate-level knights, and 9 high-level knights. If they all mastered the fighting spirit sharing technique, the Habsburg Knight Legion would be several times stronger, but, compared to individual combat techniques, this Legion technique was tough to learn. You needed to master the moves, have teamwork, and completely trust each other. So, Ren wasn't expecting the knights to learn it overnight. That was unrealistic. Besides training the knights, he was also focused on his wives. He still had 3 more who hadn't given birth yet. A week later, Jessica went into the delivery room and gave birth to twin boys. 2 days after that, Charlene and Betty delivered one after the other, having a boy and a girl, detected the birth of the 56th child of the host. The magic aptitude of this offspring is medium, and the chi aptitude is high. The evaluation is silver level. Reward, 30 years of chi cultivation, 10 years of magic cultivation. Detected the birth of the 57th child of the host. The magic aptitude of this offspring is medium, and the chi aptitude is high. The evaluation is silver level. Reward, 30 years of chi cultivation, 10 years of magic cultivation. Detected the birth of the 58th child of the host. The magic aptitude of this offspring is low, and the chi aptitude is high. The evaluation is silver level. Reward, 30 years of chi cultivation. Detected the birth of the 59th child of the host. The magic aptitude of this offspring is medium, and the chi aptitude is super. The evaluation is gold level. Reward, 100 years of chi cultivation, 10% increase in concentration of Golden Dragon Bloodline, Celestial Mount, Holy Light Pegasus. Chapter 63 Transformation into a Golden Dragon, ignoring the hashtag 039, Divine Grade Number 039, Talent of Representing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The system chimed, hosts 56th child born. Magical aptitude, average. Fighting spirit aptitude, high. Silver level evaluation. Reward, 30 years of fighting spirit cultivation, 10 years of magical cultivation. Hosts 57th child born. Magical aptitude, average. Fighting spirit aptitude, high. Silver level evaluation. Reward, 30 years of fighting spirit cultivation, 10 years of magical cultivation. Hosts 58th child born. Magical aptitude, low. Fighting spirit aptitude, high. Silver level evaluation. Reward, 30 years of fighting spirit cultivation. Hosts 59th child born. Magical aptitude, average. Fighting spirit aptitude, exceptional. Gold level evaluation. Reward, 100 years of fighting spirit cultivation, 10% increase in Golden Dragon Bloodline concentration, Celestial Mount, Holy Light Pegasus. Holy crap, Ren couldn't help but shout, excitement bubbling over. He was floored. This baby boom was a major surprise, 3 silver levels and 1 gold. The quality was off the charts and the system rewards were insane. Besides the basic fighting spirit cultivation, there were 20 years of magical cultivation, the bloodline boost, and a freaking celestial mount, a holy light Pegasus. The fighting spirit and magical cultivation were self-explanatory, but the bloodline boost and the Pegasus were next level. Ren knew about the Golden Dragon Bloodline. The first gold level kid had earned him a drop of Golden Dragon Essence, a minor boost that multiplied his physical strength by 12 and extended his lifespan by over 2 centuries. This new reward would amp up the concentration even further. The benefits were obvious. A few more rewards like this, and he might hit 100%. He could unlock the dragon transformation, becoming a true semi-divine grade golden dragon. Then, the Roland continent would be his for the taking. Golden dragons, as legendary dragons, packed a punch that even demigods couldn't match. Their bloodline gave them the edge to handle 10 opponents, easy. 5 was a walk in the park, and with divine bodies barred from the Roland continent, a half-divine grade golden dragon would be virtually unstoppable. As for the holy light Pegasus, while it wasn't as good as the bloodline upgrade, it was still a sweet prize. Born with holy light power, it could reach 12th rank adulthood and fly. Compared to that, Ren's current ride was total garbage, no contest. Snapping back to reality, Ren couldn't wait to claim his rewards. Whoosh! A wave of energy washed over him. 10 minutes later, the 190 years of fighting spirit cultivation had merged. 2 more minutes, and the 20 years of magic were integrated. Next up, the golden dragon bloodline boost. A jolt of life energy surged through his body, fueled by this essence. The golden blood in Ren's marrow pulsed, growing rapidly. Within 20 minutes, a tenth of his blood had transformed into golden dragon blood. It flowed through his veins, and his life force surged. His body started showing draconic traits. Golden scales, radiating holy power, slowly emerged from his skin. After what seemed like forever, the scales vanished. The golden dragon blood transformation was complete. Ren exhaled, eyes bright. This haul was insane. His chi cultivation had hit the peak of the 12th stage, and in 20 more years, he'd naturally break through. His magic, stuck at the 7th stage, had jumped to the 9th. One more breakthrough and he'd be a 10th stage Grand Magus, and that was just the cultivation boost. The surge in bloodline concentration had turned his essence into that of a dragon. It had multiplied his physical strength and boosted his lifespan from 400 to 1500 years. Plus, he'd gained innate golden dragon talents, golden scale armor, super reproduction, golden dragon eye. Golden scale armor, effect, summons golden dragon scales that reduce physical and magical damage by 50%, grant immunity to curses, weakness, and other negative effects, and continuously heal injuries. Super reproduction, effect, greatly enhances reproductive ability and ignores reproductive isolation. Golden dragon eye, effect, boosts insight 100-fold. Sees through invisibility and stealth, ignores blindness and other negative states, and can mentally shock enemies upon direct eye contact. Each ability was a game changer, but Ren valued one above all others: super reproduction. His golden ticket was the family system. Bolstering the bloodline and producing high-quality kids meant more rewards. For him, super reproduction was a god-tier ability. "I've been trying so hard, but Lilicia's still not pregnant. Probably the reproductive isolation between humans and mermaids. But with super reproduction, that's no longer a problem." Ren's eyes lit up. He hurried toward Lilicia's room. Time for a field test. He needed to know if this ability was legit. Chapter 64 Mermaid Royal Bloodline, the second inheritance of the Arcane Knights. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 months later, Ren's personal experiments confirmed the super reproduction talent really worked. He'd been trying unsuccessfully to get Lilicia pregnant for months, but after getting the talent, it took less than a month for her to conceive. And it wasn't just her. Thanks to his efforts, in addition to Jessica, Layla, Murphy, Betty, and Charlene, who'd recently given birth, Fiona, Katie, and Leafa were also pregnant. Even Janet, who had struggled because of her age, was now expecting. If all went well, the Habsburg family would be welcoming 5 new members soon. This made Ren incredibly happy. 2 more months flew by. The super reproduction talent's impact was undeniable. All of Ren's wives who'd previously had trouble conceiving were now pregnant. Jessica, Layla, Murphy, Betty, and Charlene were still recovering postpartum and unable to conceive again. Ren shifted his focus to managing his territory. The first phase of his development plan was nearing completion. 4 out of 6 new towns were finished. The last 2 were expected to be done in a couple of months, employing a total of 600 workers, to ensure the towns were populated and functional. Refugee recruitment needed to start immediately. This proved to be difficult. This was the real world, not a game with endlessly respawning NPCs. After 2 large-scale sweeps, most of the refugees in the Guayin region and surrounding areas had already been recruited. To find more, they'd have to go farther afield, but that would significantly increase transportation costs. Unless the recruitment price was raised, merchants wouldn't be willing to help. The journey was too long. At the previous rate of 1 gold coin per healthy refugee, they wouldn't even break even. Only a fool would work at a loss. Ren had no choice but to bump the Price up from 1 to 3 gold coins. That was the limit, any higher, and they might as well buy slaves directly. With the population problem for the 2 new towns addressed, Ren moved on to the second phase of his territory's development. The Habsburg territory covered about 100 square kilometers. 6 towns were a good start, however. To maximize land use and promote growth, they needed to build a network of villages throughout the territory. Roads were another critical issue. Good roads meant prosperity. Currently, the Habsburg territory only had bumpy dirt roads. This severely hindered trade and transportation. Ren planned to upgrade all existing roads to cobblestone and build new routes to connect the towns. And then there was Shengguang. Ren had always envisioned it as the heart of his territory, but with the expansion, it was falling behind and no longer fit its role as the central city. Once the 6 new towns were completed, he intended to invest heavily in upgrading and transforming Shengguang. His goal was to turn it into a major city capable of housing millions. With the next phase of the development plan in place, Ren dove into the work. He found it incredibly fulfilling. It felt like playing a real-life sandbox game. He watched towns rise, his population grow, and his family flourish. Ren felt a great sense of accomplishment. 7 months passed amidst the flurry of activity. Lalicia, Frenna, Katie, Lifa, and Janice were all heavily pregnant, their due dates near. Lifa was the first to give birth, welcoming a son for Ren. Unfortunately, the child's aptitude was only bronze level. The system granted a minimal reward of 10 years of chi cultivation. 3 days later, Katie and Janice also gave birth, both to girls. Their aptitudes were also average. One had a bronze level rating, the other silver. These 2 children earned Ren a total of 40 years of chi cultivation and an intermediate level method for breeding advanced warhorses. A quick review revealed it was quite useful, detailing 3 methods for developing magical warhorses: flame horses, swift wind horses, and rock arrow horses. With the right training, flame horses could evolve into powerful 4th-tier fire burst horses. Although their endurance was limited, their explosive speed made them ideal for nightly charges. They also possessed 2 innate spells, Fireball and Flame Path. They could provide considerable firepower during an assault on enemy formations. These were warhorses born for the battlefield and the swift wind horse. With special training, it could become a 4th-tier gale horse. As the name suggested, this breed was incredibly fast with exceptional endurance, perfect for long-distance raids. As for the rock arrow horse, it could evolve in 2 directions: the earthbound horse or the earth-carrying horse. The earthbound horse possessed the earthbound technique. It could move freely on uneven terrain, making it ideal for mountain warfare. The earth-carrying horse had the ability to absorb energy from the earth to replenish its stamina. It possessed incredible carrying capacity and endurance, perfect for long-distance supply transport. For knights, a good mount was essential. Although Ren had his superior Holy Light Pegasus and didn't need these intermediate warhorses, his knights were still riding swift wind horses. If he could train and equip his knights with these warhorses, their combat effectiveness would increase dramatically. Furthermore, if he could breed the horses suitable for long-distance transportation, he could sell them to merchants who traded across regions. It would definitely be profitable. Maybe I should establish a horse farm in the territory, specifically to breed and train warhorses. No time like the present. Ren immediately sought out a lush area in his territory and began building a horse farm. At the same time, he started purchasing a large number of flame horses, swift wind horses, and rock arrow horses. Of course, he delegated the specifics to his steward. He only needed to oversee the overall operation. A week later, Frenna and Larissa also gave birth. 2 boys entered the world, detected the birth of the host's 60th child. The magical aptitude of this offspring is high, the fighting spirit aptitude is medium, and the evaluation is silver level. Reward: 30 years of fighting spirit cultivation. Detected the birth of the host's 61st child. The magical aptitude of this offspring is super, the fighting spirit aptitude is medium, and it has a hidden bloodline, Mermaid royal family, already awakened, naturally possessing high affinity for water elements, extraordinary talent in water element manipulation, and the evaluation is gold level. Reward: 100 years of fighting spirit cultivation. Legendary profession Arcane Knight inheritance. 2nd, Sky Knight perfect melodies trusted aid. Chapter 65 Occupational Skill Tree. Breakthrough Sky Knight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Host 60th child detected, high magical aptitude, medium fighting spirit aptitude. Evaluation, silver rank. Reward, 30 years of fighting spirit cultivation, host's 61st child detected, superb magical aptitude, medium fighting spirit aptitude. Hidden bloodline, mermaid royal family, awakened, natural affinity for water, exceptional talent in water element manipulation, etc. Evaluation, gold rank. Reward, 100 years of fighting spirit cultivation, legendary profession, Arcane Knight inheritance, Part 2, Perfect Sky Knight promotion insights. This time, Florina didn't give birth to a child with awakened elf blood, so, the child's silver rank aptitude only warranted the guaranteed 30 years of fighting spirit cultivation, but Lilicia's first child didn't disappoint Ren. She successfully gave birth to a child with awakened mermaid royal family blood and, as Ren expected, this child with awakened mermaid bloodline immediately received a gold rank evaluation. The system's rewards were even more generous. Beyond the 100 years of fighting spirit cultivation, there were two incredibly valuable rewards, legendary profession, Arcane Knight inheritance, Part 2, and Perfect Sky Knight promotion insights. Ren was already familiar with the Arcane Knight inheritance. He'd previously obtained the legendary profession, Arcane Knight inheritance, Part 1, the job change method, and successfully switched classes, but he hadn't received the other two parts of the inheritance, lacking the skill and expertise trees for the Arcane Knight. Now, with the arrival of this legendary profession, Arcane Knight inheritance, Part 2, his incomplete class inheritance would be greatly enhanced. The Perfect Sky Knight promotion insights were equally welcome. His fighting spirit cultivation had already reached its limit, on the verge of breaking through to become a Sky Knight. This perfect promotion insights for Sky Knights was perfect timing. Receive the legendary profession, Arcane Knight inheritance, Part 2, and Perfect Sky Knight promotion insights. Ren thought silently. Instantly, a series of Arcane Knight skills and magic spells flooded his mind: Silent Strike, Death Charge, Enhanced Mount, Arcane Explosion, Anti-Magic Shield, True Reflection, Phantom Shifting, and more. Due to the sheer volume of information contained within the legendary profession, Arcane Knight inheritance, Part 2, it took Ren nearly half an hour to absorb it all. Then, a completely new stream of information entered his mind. Compared to the Arcane Knight class inheritance, the volume of this information was significantly smaller. It took Ren less than a minute to process it. So, that's how it works. After accepting this information, Ren clearly understood how to perfectly ascend to become a Sky Knight. Unlike Earth Knights, who only need sufficient chi energy for a perfect breakthrough, achieving a perfect Sky Knight promotion required one additional key consideration: first, maintaining the purity of your chi source, and never absorbing external substances during the breakthrough; second, precondensing chi cyclones as energy nodes in 368 acupoints throughout your body, transforming yourself through energy conversion; third, absorbing sufficient magnetic field energy into your chi, imbuing all of your original chi with magnetic properties. This step is crucial in determining the Sky Knight's flight capabilities after promotion. In short, he now understood everything about becoming a Sky Knight. Wah! Wah! The cries of the two babies rang out again. Temporarily setting aside thoughts of studying the inheritance information, Ren went into the delivery room. Lilicia and Frenna were cleaning their children. The little ones had just finished feeding and were already having bowel movements. Their digestive systems were remarkably efficient. This was clearly inherited from Ren. After obtaining the Golden Dragon bloodline, his digestive energy became exceptionally powerful. Ren, look how cute our son is, so chubby. Seeing her husband enter, Frenna held up their son, beaming. Lilicia remained silent. The child she'd given birth to clearly had mermaid features. With a fish tail, she worried that Ren would dislike the child because of it. He's adorable. This little guy is definitely going to grow up to be a handsome man, just like me. You're so full of yourself. Hey, I'm just telling it like it is. After seeing Frenna's child, Ren picked up Lilicia's child under her nervous gaze. He'd known from the system prompt that this child was born with the bloodline of the mermaid royal family, so, when he saw his child with a fish tail, Ren wasn't particularly surprised, and as for disgust, that was impossible. Ren's view was simple: as long as it was his blood, he'd treat them all the same, regardless of their appearance. Seeing her husband's calm expression, showing his affection for the child, Laligia realized that she'd worried for nothing. Relief flooded her heart, and her love for this man deepened. A few days later, after settling the household affairs, Ren prepared to seclude himself and break through to become a Sky Knight. Hearing her husband's plan, Janice and the other women naturally offered their full support. They were also eagerly anticipating his success. After all, if Ren could successfully become a Sky Knight, the Habsburg family could rise even further, becoming one of the Kingdom of Lance's top families. After explaining the situation to his wives, Ren wasted no time. He immediately set off for his secluded location, Iron Furnace City. He chose Iron Furnace City because of the abundant iron ore veins nearby, which generated a strong magnetic field energy. This was one of the necessary conditions for a perfect Sky Knight promotion. Heavenly contract. With a thought, a door emitting a bright aura appeared in front of Ren out of thin air. The next second, a strange horse emerged, nearly 10 feet tall, with snow-white fur, a single horn on its forehead, and a pair of white wings on its back. It exuded a powerful, sacred aura. It looked incredibly majestic and holy. This was the system reward Ren had previously obtained, the Heavenly Mount, Holy Light Warhorse. Since getting this warhorse, Ren hadn't ridden it yet. This journey would be its maiden voyage. With the excitement of driving a Ferrari for the first time, Ren swung himself onto the Holy Light Warhorse's back. "Let's go!" Receiving the signal from its master, the Holy Light Warhorse's hooves pounded the ground. After a short run, the pair of white wings on its back rapidly unfurled. Flapping swiftly, the Holy Light Warhorse soared into the sky. Accelerating continuously, it transformed into a streak of light and vanished into the horizon. Its speed was astonishing. Chapter 66 Perfect Promotion, Second World Protection Ability. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Riding his Holy Light Warhorse at top speed, Ren covered the 40-plus kilometers to Iron Furnace City from Eagle Town in under 10 minutes. The Lord of Iron Furnace City, alerted to Ren's arrival, rushed out to greet him. Just like Blue Moon City, the Lord here was also Ren's son. This one was Heir, Ren's 13th son, born to Jessica, and blessed with a high-level fighting spirit aptitude. Though only 22, Heir, nurtured by Ren from a young age and gifted with his powerful aptitude, was already a 5th-rank knight. Accompanied by Heir, Ren quickly toured Iron Furnace City. Satisfied that the new town was thriving and without major issues, he had Heir lead him to the iron mine. Reaching the deepest section of the mine, Ren felt the strong magnetic field energy and nodded approvingly. "Alright, you can head back. Iron Furnace City needs your attention. I'll be staying here for a while. Seal off this mine temporarily, no one's to disturb me." Ren instructed his son, Heir. "Yes, father." Heir replied, nodding. He immediately left the mine, taking the guards and miners with him. 5 minutes later, with everyone gone, the mine fell silent. Only Ren remained. But Ren didn't immediately begin his breakthrough. He knew that during the process, he'd need to fully focus his fighting spirit, leaving him vulnerable, and there might be iron-eating monsters lurking in the mine. If they caused trouble, it'd be a problem. To ensure an undisturbed breakthrough, Ren carefully inspected the area around the mine, activating the golden dragon blood within him. A powerful dragon aura radiated from Ren. The pressure startled monsters hidden in the surrounding soil. 2 sandworms and 5 iron-eating rats scurried out. A burst of sword aura dispatched them all. Then, Ren summoned a Holy Light Warhorse to protect him. As a higher celestial being, the Holy Light Warhorse wasn't just transportation. Its combat strength was substantial. It was a formidable opponent for anyone below the 13th rank. "Let's do this." With all preparations complete, Ren's eyes gleamed as he found a smooth rock to sit on. He began cultivating his chi technique. Following the insights from the Sky Knight's perfect promotion experience, he created chi vortexes in his meridians, transforming his body into energy. 1 down. 2 down. 3 down. Normally, it took about 10 years of chi cultivation to create a single chi vortex. To create vortexes in all 368 meridians would take at least 3,000 years. Even with Ren deep chi reserves, he was falling short. By the time he created the vortex in the 361st meridian, his chi energy was nearly depleted. Stopping now would mean a flawed breakthrough to Sky Knight. Sensing this, Ren didn't panic. He had an ace up his sleeve. His newborn twins had gifted him a total of 130 years of chi cultivation through the system. He hadn't received it immediately because his chi high couldn't contain it all. Now was the perfect time. Receive cultivation. Instantly, a massive surge of chi energy, originating from the same source, appeared in Ren Chi High. After a seamless fusion, he channeled this pure chi energy and completed the vortex construction in the last 7 crucial points. The moment it was finished, all the key points in Ren body resonated and vibrated. All 368 chi vortexes began absorbing the magnetic field energy from the surrounding void. Sensing this, Ren knew the breakthrough was at its peak. He immediately activated the Mad Dragon Chi technique, maximizing the vortex's absorption. Like a black hole, he devoured the surrounding magnetic field energy. The absorption was so rapid that the area around Ren became a magnetic field-free zone. His body floated in midair. A day and night passed in the blink of an eye under the tempering of the massive magnetic field energy. The original chi source in Ren body completely transformed into a higher intensity energy. When the last trace of the original chi source was tempered, accompanied by a buzzing sound that only existed in the soul, the chi energy began to flow rapidly within Ren body. Everywhere it passed, it tempered and transformed. His muscles and veins became even stronger. Key points opened up. Strange energy spaces, capable of storing chi energy. Throughout this process, Ren felt no discomfort. He only felt like he was soaking in a warm spring, with warmth spreading throughout his body. Another 5 hours passed. At this point, Ren had completed his physical transformation, and his aura was dozens of times stronger. 13th level, Sky Knight promotion successful. From this moment on, Ren officially joined the ranks of the kingdom's strongest. Fighting energy increased 30-fold, lifespan extended by 500 years. Feeling the changes in his body, Ren nodded, satisfied. Normally, promoting to a Sky Knight increased fighting energy 10-fold and lifespan by 200 years, which was already considered exceptional. Imagine the advantages of a perfect promotion. After spending some time adapting to the surge of power, Ren tested the signature ability of a Sky Knight, aerial flight. With a thought, the surrounding magnetic field automatically enveloped his body. The next second, Ren shot into the sky. After a few laps, Ren had a good understanding of his flight abilities. Perhaps due to the perfect promotion, his control over the magnetic field was exceptionally strong. As a result, his flight speed was incredible. At full power, he could reach over 60 meters per second, far faster than using the wind and thunder wing technique. Of course, this didn't mean the wind and thunder wing technique was useless. They could be used together for even more astonishing speed. Pushing it to over 100 meters per second. After enjoying the thrill of flying in the vast sky, Ren remembered that he hadn't done one important thing yet. Almost forgot. Now that I'm a Sky Knight, I can condense the second world's protection. Chapter 67 The Law of Karma, The Attack Must Hit, The Shock of the Nobles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You should know this. A paladin, a legendary class, gains a new world blessing each time they ascend to a major realm. When Ren reached the Earth Knight stage, he received a blessing called the 12 Trials, which gave him 12 extra lives. So, yeah, Ren was definitely looking forward to his next world blessing. He focused his mind and went into his soul space, immediately reaching out to the soul beacon at the root of the world. Because Ren had leveled up, the soul beacon had successfully absorbed enough primal energy. Pretty soon, it reacted. Buzz. 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 The soul beacon funneled all that primal energy into Ren's soul space. Instantly, the energy merged with his soul energy, forming strange runes. After about 10 minutes, all the world's primal energy was gone, and Ren knew what blessing he'd gotten this time. It was due to the law of 11 results. Attacks always hit. The effect, activating this ability makes hitting the enemy happen first, and then the attack occurs. By reversing cause and effect, the attacker's blow will always land. Whoa! Learning the effect of his second world blessing, Ren had to catch his breath. This blessing actually reverses causality. Basically, even if an enemy teleports or dodges, they can't avoid his attack. Even if they warp to another dimension, they'll still get hit. This blessing is seriously OP, on par with the 12 trials. Snapping back to reality, Ren couldn't help but laugh. Awesome. This world's defense is insane. It's like straight-up cheating, an invincible lock-on cheat. With this kind of power, who can stand against him? The thought made Ren feel pretty pumped, but, after he calmed down, he spotted the catch. His attacks might always hit, but that didn't mean his opponent couldn't block. Against enemies of equal or slightly greater strength, this wasn't a huge issue. They might be able to defend for a while, but they can't defend forever. However, if the enemy was vastly stronger, it was another story. If his attack didn't pack enough punch, it wouldn't do much damage. Even if it hit, the enemy could just counterattack and crush him. So, I'm invincible, but not really. This thought took some of the wind out of his sails. After all, the name of this blessing is causality. Attacks always hit, not causality. I look at you, you die. Total invincibility is never possible. Plus, in a world filled with magic, there's no such thing as an unbeatable ability. You have to be strong yourself. Skills alone won't make you an invincible powerhouse if you're weak. Still, flaws and all, this blessing was amazing. Even if there were ways to defend against it, it was still a serious protective boost. To test the ability, Ren unleashed some storm sword energy, splitting several hills a few miles away in half. Satisfied, he nodded. Ren didn't waste any more time. Mission accomplished. Time to go home. Instead of riding the Holy Light Warhorse, Ren walked back, making his way from Ironforge City to Hab's Manor in Eagle City. Ren, you did it. Seeing her husband flying, Jenny and the others who were tending the garden were surprised and called out in disbelief. Yep. Ren didn't hide his success in becoming a Sky Knight. He wouldn't have flown into Eagle City so openly if he had. That's fantastic. Hearing her husband's confirmation, Jenny and the others beamed. Huge cause for celebration. Becoming a Sky Knight meant her husband was now among the top power players in the Kingdom of Lance. It also meant the Habs family was set to rise to the top, second only to the royal family. They understood the significance. Jenny and the others, overjoyed, immediately started planning a celebration. And the children who had started their own families rushed back to congratulate their father on his promotion to Sky Knight. Everyone was together, filled with laughter and cheer. As the Habs family held their celebration, word of Ren's ascension spread like wildfire, especially among the well-connected nobles. They got the news almost immediately. No way. The first reaction to the news was disbelief. After all, there were only a handful of Sky Knights in the entire Kingdom of Ren. That gives you an idea of how difficult it is to make the cut, and Ren only became an Earth Knight a little over 10 years ago. Now, just a decade later, he's already a Sky Knight. Are you kidding me? When did becoming a Sky Knight get so easy? But once they confirmed the truth, all the nobles in the Rhine region were blown away. After they recovered, they all piled into their carriages and headed to the Habsburg estate to offer their congratulations. Every noble family understood the importance of a Sky Knight. Without a doubt, the Habsburg family was about to skyrocket. With Ren in the picture, the Habsburgs were sure to be one of the top families in the Duchy of Ren. Now's the time to get on their good side, otherwise, they might not get another chance. As a result, the Habsburg estate became a flurry of activity. Hundreds of nobles arrived one after another. Ren couldn't handle all the greetings, but he couldn't exactly ignore them either. It's bad form to turn away people who are coming with good intentions, so, Ren had to throw another banquet to greet all the nobles who had come to congratulate him. That finally took care of the problem. Chapter 68 Become a Dragon Knight. The first phase of the territory development plan is completed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 1 week later, the news of Ren's promotion to Sky Knight had completely blown up, making him a local legend in the Rhine region. He was now widely considered the strongest guy around, and his reputation was through the roof. Nobles were lining up at Hab's Manor, practically tripping over themselves to get in good with him. The small, weak ones were especially desperate, offering gifts, proposing marriage, anything to latch onto the Hab's family's rising star. But Ren couldn't have cared less about these petty perks. They just annoyed him. He was too stressed out to even, so, he shut the door, hoping the fuss would die down and he could get some peace. Half a month later, the storm hadn't calmed at all. In fact, it was spreading like wildfire across the entire kingdom of Lance. A new Sky Knight was a huge deal, it was bound to shake up the established order. Everyone was talking about it, nobles from other regions started showing up, wanting to meet Ren. But he was so over the whole social scene that he just pawned them off to the steward and his wife, Janice. He was focused on developing his territory, of course. Keeping the wives happy was still a top priority. Most of the visiting nobles were miffed that Ren wouldn't make an appearance, but they weren't about to complain to his face. Still, some entitled trust fund babies couldn't read the room. Thinking Ren was snubbing them, they started running their mouths, complaining and even talking about forming a coalition against the Heir's family. Ren wasn't having it. This was his turf. He had to set an example, or everyone would walk all over him. He ordered his knights to teach those clueless jerks a lesson. A good old-fashioned beatdown did the trick. No one else dared to badmouth him in Shengguang. Moving on, a month later, thanks to Ren dedication, Jessica, Layla, Murphy, Betty, and Charlene were all pregnant, joining Janice and others who had just given birth a couple of months prior. Ren found himself with a serious lack of outlets for his energy. Guess there's such a thing as being too good at this, he sighed. Before the superfertility upgrade, things weren't so intense. It used to take months for his wives to get pregnant, now it was all happening at once. Of course, there was a solution. More fields to sow, but with 10 wives of all shapes and sizes already, Ren had become picky. A plain Jane wasn't going to cut it unless she was absolutely stunning or the marriage was politically advantageous. His new criteria were simple. Point 1. She had to be gorgeous, system approved, of course. 2. She needed serious skills, qualifications, or a special bloodline. Only those kinds of kids were going to have the best stats, and the system rewards would be way better. A golden level kid was worth 100 times more than a black iron one. In reality, the gap was even bigger. Ren was all about quality over quantity. If I could marry that silver dragon girl I met, that would be awesome. The thought popped into his head. She ticked all the boxes: beautiful, strong bloodline, powerful, skilled. A kid with silver dragon blood. Guaranteed golden level rating, but she'd vanished after that wedding banquet, and he had no idea where she was. So, he kept his Dragon Knight dreams to himself. Another 2 weeks flew by. Aside from looking after his wives, Ren threw himself into developing his territory. The first phase was almost done, but the last 2 towns hit a snag right at the finish line. Parts of the newly built Blackrock city walls had collapsed and needed to be rebuilt. Shadow, the family's intelligence network, found out that the construction foreman had been selling the Blackrock and filling the walls with cheap stone. Ren blew a gasket. Those guys dared to pull something like that behind his back. Unbelievable. He immediately sent his knights to arrest the corrupt officials and profiteers. After recovering the stolen funds, he made sure they paid the price. Even the merchants who bought the Blackrock weren't spared. They knew they were screwing over the Heir's family, and they didn't deserve any mercy. After cleaning house, Ren had the other 4 towns inspected. Luckily, they were fine. He focused his attention on the last 2 new cities. This time, no pests were causing trouble. Thanks to Ren's constant pressure, construction on the 2 new cities, despite being delayed by 2 months, was finally complete. He immediately sent the hundreds of thousands of refugees he'd recruited to the new towns, which he named Saltwell Town and Flower Town. Saltwell Town was built near a salt flat. Ren planned to make it a salt production hub to feed the millions of people in his territory. As for Flower Town, it was located on a lush mountain. Ren planned to grow flowers and use his knowledge from his past life to make perfume, which he'd sell to rich ladies for a fortune. Building towns and recruiting refugees had cost a ton of money. The Habsburg family's treasury was shrinking fast. If he didn't find new ways to make a profit, the second phase of his territorial development would be slow going. Chapter 69 The Second King #039, S Award, from the Eldest Prince #039, S Solicitation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time flew by, and a month was gone in the blink of an eye. Because of the huge amount of money spent on the first stage of the territory development plan, Ren decided to develop a perfume industry to make some cash, but building a perfume business wasn't going to happen overnight. Ren didn't even know how to make perfume. From growing the flowers to extracting their essence, it would all take a lot of time and experimentation. He wasn't expecting to see any profits anytime soon. As for the beer and sugar businesses he'd started earlier, they were bringing in over 1 million gold coins a year, but most of that money was needed to support the family's growing night order and intelligence network. To keep from going broke, Ren had no choice but to put the second stage of his territory's construction on hold. With no territory to develop, Ren suddenly found himself with a lot of free time. He spent his days with his wife, helping to raise his children, and generally living the good life. Meanwhile, Freya, Katie, Leifa, Janice, and Lalesia had all fully recovered from childbirth after several months. And thanks to Ren's efforts, Freya, Katie, Leifa, and Lalesia were all pregnant again. Janice, his first wife, was getting older, and Ren didn't want her to go through the strain of being an older mother again. Plus, she had already given him plenty of children. She wasn't all that interested in having more, and she only kept getting pregnant because Ren loved kids. When Janice realized her husband was concerned about her health and didn't want her to have more children, she was deeply touched. The couple agreed that they wouldn't try for any more. So, whenever Ren and Janice were intimate, they made sure she didn't get pregnant. A week later, hundreds of envoys from the royal court arrived in Eagle's domain in a grand procession. The news of Ren becoming a Sky Knight had created quite a buzz. Almost everyone in the kingdom knew about it, so the royal family had to respond. They needed time to investigate the situation, which is why they didn't react immediately. Once they confirmed that Ren had indeed become a Sky Knight and one of the kingdom's top warriors, the king sent someone over right away. Last time, when Ren became an Earth Knight, the king had sent a regular court envoy with some rewards. But this time was different. Crown Prince Caragor, the heir to the throne, came in person. That showed just how much the old king valued Ren, the new Sky Knight. At noon, the Crown Prince and his entourage arrived at Hab's manor. Ren and his wives greeted them at the door. "Greetings, Your Highness." Caragor wasn't about to stand on ceremony with Ren, one of the most powerful men in the kingdom. He quickly smiled and said, "No need for formalities." After a few polite greetings, the steward took care of the envoys, and Ren and Caragor went inside to the reception hall. The Crown Prince wasted no time and began to read out the king's rewards for Ren. The king was pulling out all the stops to win over this new Sky Knight. Ren's title was bumped up 2 levels, from Count to Duke, the highest rank in the duchy. He also gave most of the unassigned land in the Rhine region to the Habs family, over 500 square kilometers. That meant the Habs family's territory now covered over 600 square kilometers, which was more than 6 times its original size. And that wasn't all. Duke Ren, you've shocked the entire kingdom by becoming a Sky Knight at less than 70 years old. I greatly admire you as well, Your Highness. These are just small gifts to congratulate you. Please accept them. After presenting the king's rewards, Prince Caragor took out 3 wooden boxes from his spatial ring and opened them for Ren to see. Inside were, a 4-star martial art technique called Furious Flame Chi. A 5-star combat skill called Thunderous Hand. And 3 rare magic plants that boosted Chi cultivation called Purple Vine Blood Fruit. Each item was incredibly valuable. Ren understood Caragor's intentions. He was trying to win him over. According to the intelligence gathered by the Shadow Organization, King Lance had 13 legitimate heirs. Although Caragor was the crown prince because of his age and decent skills, his position wasn't as secure as it looked. Princes like the Eye Prince and the Thousand Prince were serious contenders for the throne. They were younger, but they had far superior cultivation abilities. They had already made names for themselves in the capital and were highly favored by the king, with many supporters and followers. They were even starting to outshine the Crown Prince's faction. Naturally, the Crown Prince was feeling the pressure. Spending a lot of money to win over Ren made perfect sense. As a Sky Knight and a Duke, Ren could influence the power struggle for the throne, but Ren wasn't interested. He didn't want to get involved in the messy and pointless power struggles for the throne. He politely declined. "This gift is too generous," he said. "I can't accept it. Prince, please take it back." Ren pushed the boxes back towards Karagor. "It's just a small token of appreciation." "Duke Ren, you're being too polite. If you're not happy with these gifts, just let me know." Karagor wouldn't give up so easily. He was there to recruit Ren and secure his position as the heir. "I'm perfectly happy with them," Ren said. "I'm just lazy and don't want to get involved in any trouble." Ren made his position clear. Seeing that Ren wasn't going to budge, Karagor had no choice but to give up. He couldn't afford to threaten Ren, who held significant power and influence. That would only make him an enemy and potentially drive Ren into the arms of his rivals, which would put his claim to the throne in serious jeopardy. Karagor realized this and, despite his disappointment, remained friendly towards Ren, hoping to leave a good impression. After a few more pleasantries, the conversation ended. Recruitment failed. Karagor didn't stay at Habs Manor for long. After lunch, he and his entourage left. As soon as the prince was gone, news of Ren promotion to Grand Duke and the Habs family's promotion to Duke spread like wildfire among the nobles of the Rhine region. Chapter 70. Marry again and marry a wife. The heads of the major nobles send their daughters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was a given that Ren would reach new heights after becoming a Sky Knight but jumping 2 ranks to become a Duke. That shocked everyone because in the entire kingdom of Ren, there were only 6 dukes. The news set the Rhine regions and noble circles buzzing. After all, the highest titles around the Rhine were only counts. Now, Ren was a duke. Combined with his immense power, he'd likely be calling the shots in the Rhine region. Some nobles, always looking for an angle, immediately started prepping gifts and planning visits to Ren. They hoped to hitch their wagons to the Habsburg family and elevate their own status. Seeing this, other nobles who were initially holding back jumped on the bandwagon. It was simple. Showing up with congratulations didn't guarantee a connection with the Habsburgs, but skipping it practically guaranteed they'd end up on their bad side. Nobody wanted to risk the Duke's displeasure over something so trivial, even if the odds were small. Just like that, the Habsburg manor, which had finally quieted down, was bustling again. This time, Ren didn't seem to mind becoming a duke and increasing the family's land 6-fold. That was definitely worth celebrating in style. A week later, after days of preparation, a huge celebration banquet kicked off at Habsburg Manor. The guest list dwarfed Ren's earlier party. As a count, lords and ladies came from the Rhine region and several neighboring areas, over 300 people in total, including over 20 counts and 5 marquises. As the man of the hour, Ren, with his 10 wives, greeted the guests who had traveled from far and wide. During the conversations, the counts, marquises, and other nobles hinted at wanting to arrange marriages with the Habsburgs. Ren politely brushed them off with a smile. His adult sons and daughters were already married, only the youngsters were left, and they were too young to tie the knot. Besides, with his current power and status, he didn't need to sacrifice his children's happiness for a marriage alliance. However, Janice, who was standing nearby, perked up at the talk of marriages. She knew Ren loved kids. She was past her prime for childbearing. If she could help her husband have more children with other women, he'd be thrilled. With that in mind, Janice chimed in. A marriage alliance isn't out of the question. The Habsburgs don't have any kids of age right now. But my husband's available. He has high standards for wives, though. First, they gotta be beautiful, not necessarily the fairest of them all, but definitely a looker. Second, they need above-average magical or martial aptitude. Third, their personality can't be too awful. After confirming she couldn't have more kids, Janice had wanted to find Ren a few more women, so she'd asked him about his requirements for potential wives. The counts and marquises were caught completely off guard. Their heads were spinning. They'd come hoping to marry their kids into the Habsburg family, capitalizing on the new duke's rising star. How did it suddenly turn into a marriage with Ren himself? But this could actually be better. Once they'd gathered their wits, the counts and marquises secretly mused, the bar for the marriage alliance had been raised, but, everyone knew the difference between marrying a Habsburg heir and marrying the head of the family. Ren was the foundation of the Habsburgs, directly tying the knot with him. That meant having a Sky Knight as a son-in-law. The impact on a family's fortunes would be huge compared to a regular marriage. After weighing the pros and cons, every one of the 20-plus counts and 5 marquises agreed. 3 days later, the grand celebration finally wrapped up. Nobles climbed into their carriages and left the Habsburg manor. Among them, the counts and marquises looking for a Habsburg marriage rushed home. They were getting ready to select suitable daughters and send them to the Habsburgs. The Rhine region, Storm City, hundreds of miles from Shengguang town. This city is controlled by the Earl Neil family. It has stood for hundreds of years and is a famous city in the entire Rhine region. The city has a population of about 700,000. It is very prosperous. In a room of the Earl Neil's family estate, a beautiful redhead was crying. It was unclear how long it had been. A gentle-looking girl carrying a lunchbox pushed open the door and walked in. "Serena, come and eat. You haven't eaten anything all day. Don't starve yourself." She took out the food from the lunchbox and placed it on the table, and said to the red-haired girl. Hearing this, Serena wiped away her tears. She originally wanted to refuse to eat, but her stomach was too hungry. In the end, she couldn't say the words "I won't eat." While eating dinner, Serena complained, "Emika, father's driving me nuts. He actually wants to marry me off to the head of the Habsburg family just to get in his good graces. I heard the guy's almost 70 and has like 50 kids. The oldest one's even older than me. How can I marry him? If I had to marry, I'd go for the son." Hearing her sister's rant, Emika looked sympathetic and quickly reassured her. The head of the Habsburgs is a powerful Sky Knight, with a lifespan of at least 300 years. Even if he is 70 now, he is still in his prime. You won't be getting the short end of the stick by marrying him. Still, Serena couldn't stomach the idea. Marrying an old geezer 52 years her senior was more than she could handle. She flat out refused. "Emika, can you help me?" Selena grabbed Emika's hand, hoping her sister would stick up for her and convince their father to change his mind. "Okay. I'll try to help." Deep down, Emika knew her efforts probably wouldn't matter. Her father wasn't likely to budge if they could forge a connection with Ren, a top powerhouse in the Rhine region. Through marriage, the Neil family would undoubtedly thrive. They might even have a shot at becoming a duke's family someday. Faced with something that huge for the family's future, even as the eldest daughter, she didn't have much sway, and that's exactly how it played out. As soon as Earl Hughes Neil heard that Selena didn't want to go through with the marriage, his expression darkened. He gave both Selena and Emika a stern talking to. Wah! Back in her room, Selena collapsed on the bed, looking utterly miserable. Despair was written all over her face. Seeing her sister like that, Emika felt terrible. If she hadn't been so lacking in martial and magical talent, and met the requirements, she would have volunteered to take her sister's place. "If you really can't go through with it, just run away. I'll cover for you and distract father and the others." Afraid her sister might do something drastic, Emika thought for a moment and blurted out her idea. Hearing that, Selena's eyes lit up. Ultimately, she decided against running away. She knew it would put her sister in a tough spot. She couldn't be that selfish. Similar scenes played out in various noble households. Most noble girls were able to accept it. They'd been raised to understand that marrying for the family was their duty, and they'd enjoyed all the benefits that came with it. Some ambitious noble girls even looked forward to marrying the newly appointed Duke Ren.